Hey guys, this is something new I'm trying. This is my first try at a long range forecast, or I should say, not really a forecast. My first thoughts of the upcoming winter, which is 2023 going to 2024. This is first thoughts because obviously you can't make a forecast this far out. It would just be, you just can't do it. You can't reliably predict it. But we can do is look at hints to lead us towards what would it be next winter. And a big help with that for long range especially is looking at the sea surface temperatures by the western or off the coast of western South America, also known as ENSO, but you probably know it as El Nino or La Nina. And this year, after multiple years of staying in La Nina, we will be going into a El Nino. And as of now, this goes from August 2022 to July of this year. As of now, we're at a bit of a plateau when it comes to the sea surface temperatures. Um, in the El Nino or the Enso region. But we do expect those to change, and by change, we expect them to get hotter, as we'll go over in the next slide. But just to get you an understanding of what I'm actually telling you, Nino 1 plus 2 is right off the coast of South America. Nino 3 is this group right here. Nino 3.4 is a bit of both Nino 3 and Nino 4, and this is where we find where our El Nino or La Nina is currently. So this is the temperature they will show you on the news or wherever you get your weather. This is what determines the actual status of what is happening currently. And Nino 4 is out towards the western part, and it's up here. And this is just a graph explaining what moderate, strong, and even super El Ninos can be, and what the same scale is for La Nina, just to get an idea of what we're working with. And in between weak El Nino and weak La Nina, it's called neutral. It doesn't list it here, but it's anywhere between positive 0.5 degrees Celsius and negative 0.5 degrees Celsius is neutral. But but as we'll see in the upcoming slide, we are gonna change this temperature very soon. Actually, first thing I want to show you is the sea surface temperatures, which is basically just that graph on this side from the previous slide, just put on a map just to visualize it. So as you can see, Nino 1.2 region is very warm right now. The 3.4 region is moderately warm. It lines up with a currently weak to moderate El Nino. And over here, it's pretty much the same thing in the Nino 4 region. Now this is what I wanted to get to. This is the model predictions of the Enso, or what it will become further along down the line. Now, they need to this is the most recent run, but this will get updated since it took place in June. But as of now, this is where we are. July, August, September. We just got out of July, so this is right here where you want to look at. And also what you want to look at where the temperature is now. So as we looked at on our side, the Nino 3.4 region is around 1 degree Celsius, in between 1 and 1.2 degrees Celsius. So it would be basically in between this red line and this green and blue line would be a good indicator of what accurate models got the sea surface temperatures right as of now. Now, I want you to ignore most of these other models and just focus on the solid colored lines with the maroon colored, the green colored, and the blue colored. Now, the maroon colored is the average of basically all of them, but the green is also another kind of average, and the blue is what the Climate Prediction Center uses, what their model is. So, as you can see here, the three are projected to go from a weak Nino as of now to a weak/moderate Nino before dipping down towards even neutral towards the end of the winter months in December, January, February. This is basically the spot where you should look. So right here, where are they? They're at basically a weak to moderate Nino right here for these two lines. They're basically the same. But for this one, maroon, this is what we're all kind of leaning to try to figure out where the Nino is going to be. And at that point, at that line, it is pretty close from a moderate to strong Nino. So for this year, we are leaning towards it being a moderate to strong El Nino, and we'll see what that means in the upcoming slide in terms of snow production in the U.S. Now, this, just to clarify, this is moderate El Nino, this is strong El Nino, and this is the precipitation anomalies, which basically means blue, you're above average, red, you're below average precipitation, and this is for the winter months, the main winter months, December to February. Now, during a moderate El Nino, you can see that most of the interior eastern half of the U.S. is below average in terms of precipitation, and that can mean less snow. It could mean just a lot of just dry air, and as you get closer to the coast, it becomes more average, and even in the south, it becomes pretty well above average in terms of precipitation. Now, if you go to a strong El Nino, basically the entire East Coast is above average in precipitation, including most of the South and the West. The interior U.S. is what, for the most part, besides parts of the Midwest and Great Plains, is average to even below average in the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes over here. Now, you want to see where they overlap to get a good idea, since we're talking about a moderate to strong El Nino, and we don't know for sure which one yet since we're so far out. It is good to have a common place where you can find similar anomalies of both precipitation outlooks. So for this, it would be the Great Lakes, Midwest are pretty similar in terms of below average precipitation. This obviously means less snow, and the places where they agree upon the most is especially in the south. They agree upon the most, and even you can say a couple places here they are pretty, towards neutral for anomalies. So it's like a 50-50 shot for most of the East Coast. And another similarity is the Mountain West, even though it is a little spotty due to it being very mountainous. So that's why we had to, and their snow season starts earlier but really peaks later in the season. So this isn't really a good representation of what we could see in the Mountain West. but it is useful to find out basically anywhere else. Now this is the same thing, moderate, strong, but we're looking at the temperatures now. So what you really want to look is places where they both overlapped in above average precipitation, above average precipitation for both moderate and strong El Ninos, or one or the other, and try to compare them to each one of them here. So let's see, like one strong one was the South. The South had above average precipitation between both moderate and strong El Ninos. As you can see here, they're still saying above average for moderate to strong El Ninos in the southeast, and in the south in general, basically. Well, with moderate El Ninos, basically everyone gets more precipitation than normal, even though it's more towards neutral out to the central part of the U.S. Well, in strong El Ninos, the northern half basically gets less temperatures. The whole U.S. gets below average temperatures in the moderate El Nino, besides the interior U.S., which gets closer to average. And in strong El Ninos, the northern half gets pretty noticeably more warmer than the southern half. So you would want to look for areas where the precipitation and temperatures would overlap. And as you can see here, the UP, this is kind of isolated, so I won't really count that. They're both above average in temperatures and below average in precipitation, so you would think they wouldn't have that great of a snow year during El Ninos, which is another part of getting to understand the forecast here, or the first thoughts. And as you can see, there's not really a ton of like cold here, as opposed to the southeast where it's more agreement on more cold. You can see here it's pretty dominantly ruled by warmth in the strong El Nino versus near average in the moderate El Nino. Now this is a big part of what went into my forecast. I couldn't find a better picture for this, so it's kind of blurry, but hopefully you can see enough. So this basically is what the maps we've been looking at, but just El Nino in general, not strong or moderate, just El Nino in general. If it's anywhere between the strong and super El Nino, it counts in this. So during an El Nino, you can basically expect the upper Great Plains, the mid parts of the Midwest, and especially the Great Lakes to have a below average snowfall season, while have most of the East Coast with above average snowfall. Now, you want to know how frequently these occur to know how reliable this can be while forecasting, which with red being most reliable and blue being least reliable, so it's kind of more of a toss-up, and with red being more certain. Let's go back here. There you go. So as you can see here, the spots where you're not expected to get as much snow, you got a higher confidence on there being not a lot of snow. Well, in the New England especially, you got a higher confidence on there being more snow than average, with everywhere else being kind of mixed, which can signify more of a toss-up, which we would like to stay away from guessing on a toss-up this far out. We would like to pinpoint who has the most confidence of having a below or above average snowfall season as of now, and where we can certainly say that they will likely have a below or above average snowfall season. And as you can see here, there's two spots that poke out when it comes to above or below average in this situation and above average situation, they have higher confidence in these two areas. Now, one more thing I want to talk about, one more factor that goes into computing these, or computing it to my first look this far out, is something called PNA. It basically is all the heights oriented across either the Pacific, Atlantic, and even across interior North America. Now, I want to start with negative PNA, and I just want to say I couldn't find this same height map that they use for this one. This one's temperatures, but it's pretty similar in terms of here you would have something like this across the eastern US over here, and you would have something like this across the western US over here. You can correlate the same colors to either areas of low pressure or areas of high pressure, so you get the same idea. But in a negative PNA, this is not favorable for snow in the eastern US. It favors more prolonged warmth and dryness period, because it's in high pressure, and low pressures are what bring you storms and more moisture. High pressure just brings you a lot of clear, more sunny days, but they also bring a lot more warmth. Well, in this case, the low pressure areas would bring more moisture, most of the time bring more wet, or more moisture, colder air most of the time. And I guess if you just want snow, you would want one of these to be over you, which is why positive PNA is very it's a very positive, I guess you can say, for the eastern US in terms of snow. This is what most active patterns, we call them, during the snow season. This is why they're sitting in this pattern where the low pressure can sneak under this ridge in the western US and grow into probably a monster storm up in the East Coast. Now, you'll see why this is important because of this next map I'm going to show you. Now, this is the CFS, one model we use to try to help predict, winter this far out. It's a long-range model, and as you can see, this lines up more with a positive PNA of there being a low pressure in the Pacific, them scooting under this ridge in the western or central America or North America, and organizing into a lot of low pressure over in the Atlantic. This pattern right here is pretty favorable for above average snow in the eastern US, or just most of the East Coast basically, and not as favorable for areas where they're closer to the yellow basically. So it wouldn't be as favorable for areas in the Great Plains, Midwest, and Great Lakes, which obviously is what we've been talking about. A lot of similarities, that the Great Lakes will see less than average, and that the Northeast is looking like it's going to be more than average. So this is what it's been predicting for December, January, February, which is the normal winter months you go after, and what we've been looking at for all this time. And this is just the same thing this shows, just some analogs or seasons that look very similar and match up well with this pattern right here. And you can check for your own area to get a better idea at how or what this is predicting, but these are the anomalies for December to February of these years is what, as of now, it's looking like it's going to be most of. And most models have been agreeing on this sort of pattern for it's pretty impressive for this far out. So this is a good image to show, just to show what most models have been showing for right now. And what you see next is my, I guess, first thoughts at a forecast. Alright, so now this is my first thoughts at a forecast for this upcoming winter. Obviously, this is going to change a lot. This is going to be added on layer by layer in terms of how much confidence I feel. So this is for basically the main winter months, December, January, February. And I predict that, as we've seen so far, there's a higher confidence of lower than average snow potential over anywhere from the Great Plains to a lot of the Great Lakes. And I predict above average snow potential for the Mid-Atlantic and most of the Northeast, just because the PNA supports it. Most of as we were looking at, the El Nino likely supports a more precip filled season in the Northeast, while also with the moderate and strong El Ninos bringing anywhere from below average to near average temperatures, if not slightly above average, which in the long run you only need a couple days of cold to produce multiple storms, big snowstorms across the East Coast, as we all know. So I just think that the more probability that we will get just storms forming, that most of them, provided that it isn't extremely hot this year, which I don't think it's going to be an extremely hot winter like previous years, since this is a completely different Enso. It's a completely different pattern. This would be supportive of more snow than average in these areas and less snow than average in these areas. Basically a flip-flop of last year. And in the question marks are areas I don't have enough confidence of putting above average or below average yet. And I would slowly, over the past couple months, I'll check back and make more videos on this, and when I have more confidence, I'll add to this with a new thoughts video, and eventually it would add up to me filling out this whole map of the US of who will see below average and above average snow precip. I'll go very in depth, but so far this is just me touching base on what I think this winter will look like far out. Obviously this is August. We have a ton of time before we get to winter, or even have enough confidence to say confidently what will happen. So I think that's it. So I want to say, if you're still watching, like, subscribe, share the video. You can go in the comments, tell me what your thoughts are, or what you think this upcoming winter might be, or how I could improve these videos. But in general, just these are my first thoughts at the winter. Alright, see you guys.